Hello and welcome to Deacon and Dear. I'm the Dear and here's my dear Deacon.
Hi, dear.
How you doing? Good to see you. It was
You too.
surprise today. We have
Yeah.
guests on the air. It's not just us. It's usually just the two of us. We're traveling along and now we have guests on board. We love having a guest.
Yes.
Do you want to introduce our guests?
Yeah. So Elaina and Alonzo Ford have joined us and they're going to talk about Retrouvaille. So can you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves?
The short bio. we had Elaina on our other show and we gave a long bio. So the short bio, we didn't know. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Alonzo, and this is my beautiful wife, Elaina. We're the Fords, and we live in Atlanta, but more specifically for people that live in Atlanta, we live in Smyrna. We've got 2 kids, blended family, and we've got an 18-year-old and a 12-year-old, and we run a family business caring for people who can't care for themselves. And we just, work, pretty hard. My background is I graduated West Point, and I was in the Army for several years and served in combat in Iraq, came back, went to corporate America for about a decade, and then went entrepreneurial, especially focused on our family business, Lowe's Guardian Angel, which is taking care of elderly. And so, Elaina?
Yeah, so like Alonzo said, we're a blended family. So we got married about 7 years ago, and it's been a whirlwind still. And we both have corporate backgrounds, and I left about a year ago from corporate, a little over a year, to come full time and work for the family business. So it's been an interesting dynamic to work together in leading the company. But the company is amazing. It's a for-profit company with a nonprofit mission, which we love. We both are very much involved with nonprofits and like Alonzo said, helping those that can't help themselves. So it's a great mission.
I think that's wonderful.
Great ministry.
Great ministry.
Caring for those who are disabled and in this culture in our society, we often neglect those people, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Marginalized. There's a great book out by, and I have to say this, right? I'm not here and I forget her name, by a friend of mine, Anna DeSantis. And she wrote a book about the marginalized, and it's little prayers each day, just a very short prayer, and she takes people that have the heart for God to take care of people that are the ones we'd overlook, and that's so sad. But I came to pass the West Point part. I think that's great.
Yeah. So my first question is, did you see combat?
I did. I deployed in 2003 with the initial invasion of Iraq. And, we had a 2-week march from the border of Kuwait and Iraq up to Baghdad. And, and then on April 6th, it's a day I'll never forget, but it was the day that we sacked Baghdad and declared liberation for the Iraqi people. And there was a lot of combat and things that came along with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hats off to you, right?
Just so you know, I've treated a few people with PTSD from Vietnam. So
yeah, it's very real. And one thing I can say is that the nation and the medical community has embraced and addressed this generation of soldiers and PTSD far better than we did with the soldiers from Vietnam. So I feel blessed with the resources that we've had.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
wasn't even recognized in Vietnam as a disorder, and yet it's so obvious.
Well, I want to say our hats off to you because we have military family members. Pat's dad was a bombardier, and our son-in-law was senior chief, right?
Yeah. He was in
and
Navy.
We just love
he made Master Chief, so which is
wow.
yeah.
But it costs something, just like in marriage. When you go out to battle, it costs. It costs for our country to have freedom, and freedom isn't free. It costs somebody something, and we have to all applaud always the military and pray for our military and pray for those who are thinking about going into the military. It's a big calling. So I just want to go off the subject, but I always do.
Yeah. Well, it's important in terms of who they are because, and part of it is, so I can't help but think, did you go in because your dad served?
Yes. So I grew up in a military family. I mean, I was just telling our kids at dinner that my grandfather, their great grandfather, was in the Army during World War II. And then my father and stepfather were both enlisted while I was growing up. Fortunately, they just missed Vietnam. They were in high school when Vietnam was happening, and then they, finished and went in when we were coming back. And then I grew up, they were my heroes, and my pastor was a retired sergeant major of the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And then, General Colin Powell was on TV. And so I said, hey.
Yeah. Big difference from World War II.
Right.
In terms of how people of color were treated by the military.
See, so now we go back to our subject because now he's off the subject. But we just said we didn't argue also because we couldn't work together. I didn't realize when Elaina was on our show that you all worked together. That right there is a really commendable, because Pat and I went.
It could be a big stressor.
We organized our house, which is working together, and we're both leaders, and you all both are too. We know this, so that you're both leaders, and someone. We have this thing about one person dies to themselves, or the other person dies to themselves, or else you have to compromise and find a solution. And two leaders, they both have good solutions in their own personality and brain temperament and their sexual, like I'm a girl, he's a boy. And so in our minds, we're thinking this is the solution. And the other guy's going, no, that's not the solution for me. We just said just a minute ago before dinner, what was the solution? I was making the food. I go, because we're empty nesters. So that's like when you first get married, it's like your stage of life is honeymoon stage, and you get used to each other. And then you go for the stage where you have children and you're raising children. And then you go through the stage where you're having teenagers, and the grandparents are getting older, and now we're in the empty nester stage, which is tons of fun, but you have to reinvent everything in your life. Like
because when you raise a kid, we have a big family. We had 8 children, 7 living, and so and Ellen got pregnant on her honeymoon,
which was another experience I never.
So we didn't have a lot of married time, just us, and so your life, as you know. It's all about the kids and their activities and what's going on with them. And then now there's no kids. So although we have
divided rooms.
Our second son, he's living with us right now.
It's temporary. He's going back to Hawaii, but it is one of those. I think two leaders can have a harder time on the whole solution thing than if you have a follow. I used to be the wife. I said last time, you're fine, honey, whatever you want here. And then I interrupt you next. So you just have to change. You're there all day. You have to be real, right? And you're together all day. So that does make a different kind of a thing. So what do you want to start with? What question you want to start with?
Well, tell us about how you ended up going to Retrouvaille, because every marriage has problems and difficulties. And
or
what led to going to Retrouvaille? Retrouvaille.
We do on this show. We never take anything off the air. So watch what you say. It's all going on. Nothing's erased. We should have some waiver.
Right. So I'll just say that as every couple does, when we found each other, we were in love, and we couldn't see the faults, and just couldn't get enough of each other, and
honeymoon phase.
That honeymoon phase, and we were both very independent and very much had our lives and doing our thing. So when we came together, we had this saying in corporate, forming, storming, norming, and performing. And
we have another one. Storming, forming, performing. What is it again?
Forming, storming, norming, and performing.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to the storming stage pretty quick.
Two leaders.
Yeah. And we kind of bumped around in there for a long time. And, we went to, our church marriage ministry, and, some ministers of the church took us in under their wing, who had been married 30 years. That helped us get through a hump. And then then they left, and then we kind of got involved with a group, that was just coming together and sharing. And then kind of the church disbanded and our group disbanded.
Ouch.
And then and he said, ouch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, that's hard when you develop these relationships, especially if they're supporting you, and then the bottom drops out in terms of no real support anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, it's funny that our Retrouvaille our Retrouvaille family, the other couples, they joke and call us the power couple. And the power struggle couple.
Oh, something different.
Probably both. Probably both.
and
you're high vibe people. Because I'm a high vibe person.
Yeah, and so essentially we just went through enough challenges to where we just weren't sure how to get ourselves unstuck.
Right. We tried, like Alonzo said, we had couples within the church, couples in a marriage ministry that was connected to the church. We went to therapists, counselors. So we tried different, options and solutions, and it just wasn't sticking, for either one of us. So, we weren't at the point where it's like, okay, we're going to completely give up, but we were tiptoeing towards, okay, we've got to do something. We got to do something significant.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's when I was just having a conversation with my best man. We probably catch up, he and I went to West Point together, and then we served, in the, Calvary together. And so long story short is, he was my best man, and, just kind of sharing. He's like, man, how's everything going? How's the family? How's everything on the home front? And, I was honest. I wasn't spilling all the tea, but I was pretty candid that things were challenged. And he said, hey, my wife, she grew up Catholic. We had to do the counseling, and have you heard of Retrouvaille? And I was like, never heard of it, not once ever. So he sent me the link, and it was, this mysterious kind of opportunity where you really don't get much information. But since he vouched for it, I spoke with Elaina about it, and she was all for it because, she, wanted to find a way to invest in our marriage and turn things around. And it definitely was a game changer for us and our marriage, probably more so than any other tool or resource that we had experienced before.
So what was it that was so different about it? Because all these various things. So what was it that, because I'm very interested in this, because you look at even amongst Catholics, where divorce is never acceptable for Catholic. I don't know if you fully understand, but the Catholic Church says divorce is never acceptable. People will say, oh, well, the church will give an annulment and undo a marriage. No, the church does annulments by saying you were never really married, according to the principles that the church has laid out, because the church can never say it's okay to divorce. So we take it, really seriously. But if you look at the Catholic Church, people who say they're Catholic, they're not much different from the rest of the people in society.
Well, I want to say one thing as a woman, and I know you know this too, is what we were just listening to tapes by Dobson this week, remember? And they said for women, the most important thing is to hear is that the security, I'll never divorce you, I'll never leave you. Because it makes them feel like they can pour into the marriage, because no matter what happens, I'm right there for you if you get whatever. We've watched people go through such hard things, like the wife is totally bedridden, and the husband sticks by her, and then one gal, Debbie, Hoyt, just recently died. She was sick a long time. Her husband stood by her.
She had Alzheimer's.
But yeah, I think she's just it's just one of those things where you have that security. Now the men need to be built up, wasn't it the men? The men needed to be respected and built up, encouraged, know that, hey, you can trust me that I'm gonna lead this family, but I'm gonna seek God so that I can lead you in the direction of the Lord. So those are two things we learned this week, but I think it is so important to have the support of other people while you're doing the marriage. Our son-in-law, Kyle Young, he's a physician, and he came in the family. He asked Pat's hand in marriage for our daughter Amanda. It was precious. And he said, I want to marry your daughter Amanda, and I'll become Catholic too. And we said, no, we don't want you to become Catholic unless you're called by God to be Catholic. You just can marry Amanda, but we don't hold you to
that's
that.
just not acceptable. The church never wants somebody to become a Catholic because their spouse is Catholic. We only want them to become Catholic because they believe they should become Catholic.
So one day we were at Amanda and Kyle's house, and he said he has a family of like lots of parents. He has lots of parents, right? So he said, I told Amanda when I married her, I'll never divorce you. We were shocked. We tell couples, this is a good thing for the man to tell. It was on the Dobson tape too. We had already known from Kyle. My family was kind of dysfunctional, and I'm gonna stand by you no matter what comes against them. And they've been just such a good example to our family. But so now Pat's question, because we got off the subject again, but it's always fun to get off the subject, because I did want to say, for a man, it's important the respect, and for a woman, it's the security. Like, you know, Pat and I are fighting. What do you say, honey, to me?
I'm not going anywhere.
And I just go, wow, okay, then.
I may be mad or whatever, but I'm not going anywhere.
That's refreshing for, someone that, seeks that security. But
yeah,
48 years you married, 48 years, right? I come up May 1st, but go on.
it's such a blessing.
Nowadays know each other.
Yeah. And we have one child who's gotten divorced, and it's painful, as I'm sure you know.
They have a blended family.
Yeah, and hers and theirs. They have 6 children.
They live down the street. Our family was in the same neighborhood, pretty much. So, well, we'd like to hear that. What is it that was different? Was it
about Retrouvaille?
Teachings or the fellowship?
Yeah.
Was it the church base? I don't know.
Is there something you can really point to? I mean, sometimes it's like the whole experience, or is there something that was so different about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think through all of the different solutions that we were looking for, I was probably the least, receptive to the solutions, I would say. So I think it's good that I'm answering this question first. There's a few things about Retrouvaille, and just for those that don't know what Retrouvaille is, so it's a global marriage ministry, and it's specifically for marriages that are in trouble. Okay, so this is not the touchy-feely, hey, we're at a great place and we want to be at an even better place.
Kumbaya.
Yeah, this is for couples that are struggling, that are considering, possibly ending their marriage or having some really bumpy parts of their journey. So what a couple of things about Retrouvaille that I really resonated to. So it's a volunteer-based ministry, and it's led by couples that have gone through the program. Right. So you don't have these talking heads that are saying, this is so great. Da, 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 da. Mm-hmm. These are people that have gone through a lot. And when you go in there, you're like, wow, maybe
and here they are still married, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what these couples have overcome to get to where they are, it's amazing. And trust is built so quickly, because there's the program, the format is you have an intense weekend, right? And that's the start of your curriculum. And then you continue with sessions after that weekend for 6 weeks. And it's different aspects and tools and techniques that you can use to help strengthen your marriage. So I think for me, it was one, having couples that had testimonies that were leading us through the journey. It just trust was immediately formed, I think, for me in that respect. I think also because it was faith-based, and that was something, having not only the support, and I want to caveat this too, that Retrouvaille was founded out of the Catholic Church. However, it has expanded. I mean, over 200,000 couples have been helped across 30 countries in the world, right?
It's for anybody.
Anyway,
Anybody. It's super inclusive. Okay. But it is nice. And it's helpful that it is faith-based.
Mhm.
Because even when we can't figure it out, we can go to the Lord.
Amen.
yes, and there is-
Amen.
and so-
It's not just us in this marriage, right?
Right. Oh, no,
So I think
there's always three.
I say,
you got it. You got it.
Jesus and us.
that's the other thing, Pat and I were both talkers. Those are the guys.
Oh, no, I love it. I love the interchange. So
Yeah.
that, I mean, those were two of the key, I think, aspects of Retrouvaille that really drew me. And then also just the framework and the tools, like having actual tools that you can use once you get out literally into the field. Like when you're out of the program and you're back in the marriage, you're back in real life, you have tools that you can use. You don't have to fend for yourself. You can try different things. And I think that's been helpful because it's like you don't feel like you're on your own because there's a whole community, but then you also don't feel like you don't have any tools. You absolutely do.
Does it have mentoring couples or not? I'm gonna ask you that the other day. They have mentoring couples. Mentoring couples are helpful because if you think no one has problems, that everyone has problems. Some people don't admit the problems and others are just humble enough to go forward and say, Lord, I need some help. Right?
Yeah.
Pat used to pray, Lord, help us to love you more so we love each other more. I go, we don't love each other more. Right? So I'm the Pollyanna of the group. I'm going, what? And so I get so upset, but that's the truth. It is the truth, right? You have to, God gives you the grace, the sacrament of marriage, at least the, sacrament of marriage to be able to love each other. And then without him in the center, you're kind of on your own. Like, oh, you have to put him in the center. What did Bishop Sheen say the other day on this ropes? Remember the ropes, the two ropes he used to tell people, take these two ropes. Do you remember the story? It was like,
Yeah. In
two
terms
ropes,
of two twine,
And they give
basically
him
roped together,
rope
but it's really three.
And then he
And
gave
this
him three
rope
ropes.
is much stronger.
He said he's telling engaged couples, but here's two ropes, they get twined together, and then they couldn't do it, and then he needed the three ropes to kind of show that was what,
Marriage is.
when we gave engaged weekend, we used to have this one couple used to have a box, and inside the box, you open it up, it's a little cardboard box, it said the word God, and then he'd go, don't leave God inside the box, God in the center. There's all kinds of ways to do it. We all know that. Then it's actually just like knowing Jesus died for you, and then he's your personal savior and he loves you, and then putting that into action. It takes time. You
Right.
can't just go, it's a brain, and then it goes to your heart.
But I think, Elaina,
Yeah.
that seems to me a very crucial point. And we experienced that because our eighth child, Zachary, died a couple hours after birth.
Mhm.
And so when you talk to somebody who's lost a child,
This is true.
there's almost an instant connection because they know it's not just some intellectual exercise.
So you
Like a
need-
lot of counselors, it's like, oh yeah, what do you know? But when you've talked and people who are talking to you who've actually been through it, they have a credibility that others don't. It's like going to war, right? Somebody who's actually been in combat, you're going to listen to a lot better than somebody who hasn't.
Right. An academic or, somebody that's studied war for 30 years. But so you're spot on. And Elaine and I, we both got a lot out of it, but different parts grabbed us. And you mentioned mentoring couples, and that's how we got pulled in. I mean, there was this couple that was a presenting couple our weekend that just really resonated with us. And then they took us in under their wing, and it just, and they continue to be a mentoring couple and friend to us, Bob and Karen. And when Bob was sharing, I mean, I felt everything he was saying, almost like, half of the feelings that he was sharing and are things that I was like, oh man, I know exactly what he means. I can feel him exactly. Or, maybe, if I don't, get something in check, I might go, over this cliff, that he did, but now he's there and he's survived and he's thriving and they built and I just, it was so empowering to just connect with Bob and Karen like that. And I saw a lot of similarities between Karen and Elaina too, because
Yeah.
they're very project oriented and task oriented, and you know, they have everything, you know, tied in a box. And Bob and I are more gregarious and just engaging, and people, you know, people.
Like a man, man was like a man. What's wrong with you? Pat is more task. I'm like, let's just go pray. You guys fix it up.
I can see that.
Well, it's got Martha and Mary. That's one opposite. Another opposite for us. We're both leaders, that's our saying. But no, it's important to know that, like, if we have something to get done and Pat will do it, I'll say, Pat will do it. And then I go, I'll pray. It's just who you are. It's just, and if you could market the fact that you're the same in areas and different in others, then you put the one guy to task on the thing that you're not really thrilled with, right? I mean, like that is like, he's a better cleaner than I am. And also I have injury in my body. So Pat will actually clean my house for me as a gift, like we're having a party this weekend. He'll be helping with the house because I can't, I mean, I physically can't do it, but I actually am not as good as him, right? I mean,
That's right.
he's good. He's a servant, and I'm more like the person
Who
that does
wants
the
to have a
social
wife
things,
in misery, you know?
I know. I really had 10 car crashes in a year and a half, and I
Oh my
still struggle a lot.
Yeah, none of them her
Yeah,
fault
right.
either. That's the amazing.
What?
You almost wonder, is the devil out to get her? Or, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you're a survivor.
I mean, I say, this is when you face a trial in life, and we face so many, like right now, the baby died, that 10 car crashes. And at first we tried moving to Florida to try to get better, but that didn't work out. So now Pat does a lot of the driving, he does a lot of the cleaning, and I keep suggesting we, get someone else to help us, but he doesn't mind it. I think he takes it as his exercise workout. So
Okay.
I took it my workout, and mommy's going, you have to join the gym, just clean the house. Like, oh
Yeah, workout in disguise. I like that.
I think, well, anyway, so what do you think about the opposites in each, y'all, are you opposites like us? Are you the same? We're so much the opposite.
Personalities.
Everything, men and women, everything else.
I'd say we're the yin and the yang in a lot of regards.
I mean, we are as well. And we have learned, at least I say it this all the time, because I'm the Mary, he's the mother, go like this, baby. We have to, like, we could learn from each other, or we could, I don't know, I kill each other.
Kill each other.
I said, like, you have to learn from everybody you meet. And if you learn like from the other guy that is the opposite, you can see why they're doing. I'm always questioning, why are you doing that? He's also, what are you doing that for? Because we do it so differently, even wash the dishes, right, honey? I wash dishes, I put the bubbles up. I had kids. I play with the bubbles and wash my dishes. He fired me from that job. He washes the dishes because he doesn't like the bubbles. And so we're all so different. I enjoy everything. Pollyanna.
Getting back to your experience in terms of how much do you see in terms of the whole spiritual aspect of it, in terms of like, does Retrouvaille have people praying for you all when you're going through it?
Oh my God, yes.
Wow, yes.
I mean, so first of all, there's also a priest on the stage all weekend, and he's constantly praying for us. He's able to do confession pretty much daily, and he's sharing the word of God and how it relates. And it's really special how they equate their basically marriage to God and to the church, to how couples are married.
Right. So one of the misconceptions that people will, even in the Catholic Church, you'll hear people say, what's your vocation? Is it to the priesthood or marriage? No. We are created male and female. Everybody's vocation is marriage. Priest's vocation is marriage. But it's different because God has called them to be married to the church. But marriage is in our inherent nature. That's why God made us male and female. And when we understand that, then we can see like who we pick. And you've seen in the news and everything is some of the men who've been picked to be priests should never have been picked.
Oh dear. Okay.
Oh, no, that's the reality. But part of I don't care. So part of the thing is if we only pick men who said, I really want to get married, but God has called me to be married in a different way.
Yeah.
That's a more healthy man. You know what I mean? So and looking for that in a man, because that's our very nature, male and female, God made us.
And Pat, speaking of male's nature, one of the things I did want to share about, what I got out of Retrouvaille is it really, really, it can bless a man so much, because the ability to communicate your feelings, your hurts, your pains, your sorrows, and I grew up where guys just didn't show that much emotion.
Right.
And it was a sign of weakness if you did. And, rather than being hurt as a man, you just get loud and big and aggressive and threatening. And that's not healthy. And so, it just really gave us tools. And I really felt like I had a tool that I'd never had before to express, any type of feeling, discontent, frustration. But then also we can express joy and exuberance and happiness and elation. And the tools are there to be able to express ourselves in a way that I had never been able to, consistently express myself in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a theory.
Okay. Theory.
So I want to bounce it off you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the theory is the idea, and this is based upon a psychologist who was ministering to men who were in prison.
Okay.
And who had children. And she said they would get really angry and frustrated because they couldn't do something for their child.
Okay.
And so what occurred to me is that if you give a man a choice of getting sad, down, depressed, defeated, versus angry, fighting, the men are most likely to choose the fighting, the angry,
fight or flight,
rather than, fight versus flight, in a sense. It's like, oh me, and we see, I think it gets really perverted in a sense where men just do crazy things because they get so angry, and it becomes that kind of feeling gets so distorted that it becomes really a real evil. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, there's a book that I read called Wild at Heart, where basically it talks about the nature of a man, and it's like a battle to fight or a battle to win, and a love to save. And there's something else in there, but I think that, we're wired to, when feeling threatened, to fight, unless unless it's like a lion or something that we know we cannot win, or we're outgunned or outmanned, then we might fight. But if we feel like it's an even match, or in our ego we got the best of the situation, I think we're wired to fight.
Or if it's our family or somebody really weak, even though we may not think we can win, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, and you know what? When you win in a marriage, in a fight, you really lose. I mean, you're
nobody loses.
Oh yeah,
sorry,
absolutely.
Teaching,
I'm just saying that's the struggle.
The whole idea is to win.
Right.
Then that's not. I don't.
But knowing that about ourselves helps us to try to fight that tendency.
Okay.
We need to know that about ourselves in order to resist that tendency.
We don't want it to be like, you don't have you shut down. So what do you think, Elaina?
Yeah, I think it's the lens when you go into conflict. And that's actually one of the sessions for Retrouvaille, one of the post sessions. And we're still studying the conflict management.
Okay.
But
what they tell you to do, I'm trying to know what they do.
That might be a lifelong task.
It might just be.
But what they say, I'm dying to know. I really am.
Well, I think it's all about, I've learned it's not all about who wins. Or what your point gets across. You think of the lens of, okay, so how are we going to help sustain our marriage,
That's right.
strengthen our marriage.
How does the marriage win?
Yeah, exactly.
That's very good.
Amen.
That's very good.
Individually. And so that's a mind shift,
That
especially
is.
when you all are talking about how men are innately wired. And then when you couple that with, you've got an alpha male, trained fighter, alpha female. A leader.
I was just
So
got a girl, so.
it's like it's a different reaction. I think I don't know if it's different, but my reaction many times is that's why we have power struggles. Because if
two leaders, again, two leaders.
coming at, in terms of he's fighting for what his thoughts or feelings are, and my initial reaction, my impulsive reaction is to buck back,
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I used to do.
not
and they
shriek
better.
down, but then that doesn't help the situation. If you have two powers just going at it, like if the objective again is for the marriage to win, you just can't approach it like that.
Mhm.
We divide and conquer though sometimes, right? I mean, we do like, some things, and to be honest, some things Pat's in charge of, some things I are. And I used to just say, it's fine. But then I realized I wasn't getting to do, I'm the woman. So I like to do certain things like decorate the home. I'm so that way. And so I say, no, we're not doing that because that's like my territory. Otherwise, one person doesn't have any say. And I don't think submission meant that one
Right.
person dies and the other person just
No.
rises up and lives. I don't
Did
think
they-
like that. David would never have done that, although he fought a lion.
Did they talk about that in Retrouvaille in terms of the whole submission? What, the Catholic
That's a big
understanding
thing.
of that?
Even first, I
Did they
see.
talk about that in Retrouvaille?
The Catholic understand, say that Catholics first.
They
Because it's
did.
mutual, the church teaches it's mutual submission.
See, and I misunderstood.
You're
I learned
really
that course.
supposed to be humble and submit to each other.
Because once you get to a point where you're not getting your way in anything, you end up kind of getting bitter. You really do. So it's healthier to have a little bit of. I
Right.
didn't know what alpha meant last time when you said I'm alpha and he is. Or on the show, I was like, what does that mean, Pat? But you're both leaders, I think. And so I was just subduing my personality till we get along with my guy that's strong. He's a manly guy. So now I just say what I think. I think I like to go the other way, but maybe he's okay. I don't, because I'm a person at that point.
It would be very boring
I was
the
a-
other way.
I'm a leader, so I go, baby, I got to have my way on this one. And we talk about it, but I'm not saying we're perfect in this area. Communication is the number one hard area for couples. Communications, because I may say I like blue and Pat pulls out a turquoise, and I go, well, that's not blue to me. Royal blue, I mean, remember, we'll just, I mean, it's not,
Well, I'm sure-
saying that to a woman, blue is this color, and then to a man, you might throw in a
Right.
turquoise.
I'm
And I go,
sure they must talk
That's-
about that in Retrouvaille in terms of how men and women think so differently, and
We can
generally
name all
speaking.
subjects.
And how much of that, how much in terms of your struggle do you see
You're so
from
normal. See, that's the thing, so normal.
your family life? How
That's a
much
good
did that
question.
affect you?
Your upbringing?
Yeah.
You watch the shows?
Yeah. It's that is interesting. So there's a section on family of origin.
Right.
And so you break down how you grew up. What did you view growing up in terms of the relationship that your parents had or did not have? How you kind of formed what good looks like for a marriage, for a family. So I think in terms of us, my parents were still together after over 40 years. and Alonzo comes from a blended family.
Mhm.
But it's more traditional, I guess. Well, both of us came, it was more of a traditional household where the male was the breadwinner
Mhm.
and the woman was more of the domestic.
Right.
Yeah.
So you came in as a businesswoman, you were a professional, and you came in the marriage with Alonzo, because you're married 7 years, and then he was the man, he was in charge of the house, and we came in different. We came in, I was a flight attendant, and I married Pat when I met when I was 19, got married 20, so I was like ready to be like kind of like submissive, and we realized later in our marriage I was in daddy-daughter syndrome, like, man, I'm doing whatever he says because I'm like the daughters, and then we had to come out of that. Remember, honey? It was like it's healthy.
Yeah.
It's healthy when you discover something. You're like, wow, I'm equal par with you. Tell what the Pope said. Pope John Paul the Great.
That's what I said, mutual submission.
Yeah, mutual. So that's was John Paul the
Right,
Great, because they call him John Paul the Great because he thought the idea it was in the Bible. No one ever discovered that before. Because submissive used to be like this, and now submissive's like this.
Well, yeah, and
I
I
like
think,
that.
It's,
and I
it's way
think-
healthier, for me, my personality.
I'm sure they must talk, I mean,
Mine
one of
too.
the things, recognizing that there is a battle, it's a spiritual battle too.
That's what I was gonna say,
And
so you move
that,
forward.
what does the devil do in the garden?
Mhm.
He attacks marriage, he attacks the relationship
Mhm.
between God and Adam and Eve, which then is, because I teach Christian anthropology in terms of who we are. And part of that is to see that, hey, we're meant to be in harmony and peace. That's the way it was
Mhm.
until we believed the lie. And basically Adam and Eve wanted to be God apart from God.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
rather than being God, because we're supposed to be God-like, but with God. And so they disobey God, which messes up their relationship with God. And you see their relationship then is messed up, because how can they be trusted?
Sure.
And
Mhm.
so,
They blame each other.
and knowing that's part of the
See,
battle,
well,
even though we're redeemed because of what Jesus did, we still have that sinful nature that we have to fight against.
That's what it goes
And
back
we
to.
will until we die.
And it goes back to the same thing. You agree that you
Right.
either agree to disagree, hug at the line, or say, this isn't gonna affect how much we love each other. It's gonna be, our relationship's more important than who's right or wrong. We just work on what a solution would be. And solutions are really it hasn't been said a lot to find solutions. It normally is, it's solutions are so important, and you don't have to have the same solution as some other couple. Like
Right.
I was taught that I don't have to be a good wife to anybody but Pat, and I have to, like, we have to gear our life towards what works for us as a couple. One couple, I mean, in the old days, we were the old people, so in the old days, it was like, no, the man does the finances, maybe the man stinks at the finances. I would never be the man that's good at finances, so if I was the man, but Pat, you just have to work with what you have, the gifts, again, back to
Yeah.
what are your gifts, what are his gifts, and how can we divide and conquer, but not in the conquering way, and then how can we love each other through the mountains we're climbing together. Theirs has been, they had, this is one thing I mentioned on the other show, which I think is important if you want to talk about a little bit. They came in, she came in the marriage, they're 7 years married, they came in and he had some children already, which is beautiful. We love children, but that's a new thing. Janet was going on the other show, Well Mom, we had Elaina on our show, and she was our guest talking, and she was so beautiful. And it asked one, wow, that's a lot of things all at once. And it's true, because when we had children, I had never babysat. So even having my own child,
Oh,
it's a
wow.
huge, my
Yeah.
mom did all the work. I never made a bed. I never did anything. So I'm like, here I am. I'm a child, had a diaper because it's a boy. And then they do things like, go to the bathroom, and then, oh Lord, I don't do naked. So it was very hard for me being a new bride, right? And then
Mhm.
when I was pregnant, I was nauseated 9 months, both so nauseated 2 or 3.
Let's
Every
just
day.
say,
So I'm
just to
saying,
give you a
I
picture,
was a
is
miracle to have these 8 children.
even though she was pregnant, that
I still
her
look beautiful.
first year of our marriage, after we went for a month-long honeymoon after we
We
got
did,
married.
and I didn't believe I could be
And then
pregnant.
I started my internship in
Gainesville, Florida.
in
Yay.
Gainesville,
Shout out
Florida,
to Gainesville.
and Ellen would go to the pool on her little blue
I
raft
did,
every
'cause I knew I
day
was pregnant.
and relax on the little blue
Then
raft.
my belly kept growing.
That
and I
was her
there,
life at
I
that
thought my life
point,
was great. And then and then we did this test for the rabbit tide. I was pregnant, so that's a new thing in a marriage. And you go, woo. And so one girl said she used to feel so sorry for me because she would see in the pool my bikini. That's why I can wear bikinis. I don't wear them now because of the Pope or someone. And so I was going, wow. I thought something was wrong with you, but really I was pregnant. We didn't believe it at first because I was anorexic. See, we had a lot of challenges. So what do you all think about coming into a marriage, and then there's babies or children? One baby was 4 and one was 7. I don't remember 7, or I tried to listen twice this show, but it's a new thing. Even for me who had our own children, each time I get pregnant, it's like, whoa.
Well, yeah, if you think about it in terms of
Not
the
for
relationships in a family, you start out the couple, there's one really dynamic,
What is it?
right? You had a child, now there's 3 dynamics. You had another
Yeah.
child, and it just gets geometric, in terms of the expansion of these interactions that are going on that you have to deal with.
But your love grows. I mean, you love the children, we know that, but I'm saying that we protect, even when we had children little, and we have all grown children, all adult children. Our baby is 30 and just married. We protected our couple time. We protected it. We said, well, like we always have had, even like when we have dinner parties, even now, this is the adult table and there will be the children. And I'm sorry, it might sound like to some people bad, but we like adult conversation when we're with kids all day, and we protect that by date night. We protect it by going out of town once a month. So what do y'all, how'd that go for you? I mean, I don't know how it goes, because I don't know how it be to get married and have a baby. It was hard enough for me to go the 9 months and go like, whoa, now he's a baby.
Yeah, I mean the kids, gosh, I think Layla was maybe four or five.
I think they were
4 and 10. So
That's a new thing. Y'all was a teenager, you know.
Yeah.
And Javon was 10, and we got married, and it was just instant mom, instant
Sure.
wife. This
Fun.
first marriage, you know, it was
Had you ever
later.
babysat?
What's that?
Had you ever babysat? I never.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you know what you're doing. That was good.
Yeah. It was a different dynamic, because I loved babysitting, you know, hang out with the kids, and then you go home. But this is different. Like this is my responsibility.
There's no going home.
No, you can't go home. You can't turn it off. You can't. No, none of that.
Nope.
It was a struggle for me, to be honest.
I grew into it. I grew into the whole thing. It's not, you grow into it. Right? You're married 7 years, you grow into it.
Yeah.
But every stage of life is so different.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
What do I think
About the kids, and how did that go in terms of
that marriage and the new wife, and then
did they get along?
It's complex. So like you said, Pat, there's so many different dynamics, and I'll probably just take like 3 of them. The first dynamic was I had a big job in corporate America, and I had to travel, but I also had full custody of 2 young kids. So that comes with its own, you know,
right.
And so
struggles and difficulty. Yeah.
So my aunt, I had a village. My aunt came to live with us. My father would, you know, help. You know, Aunt Lucy would help. My father would help. My mom and G-Pa would help. And so it just really was a village. But when we got married, Aunt Lucy stayed with us, and she was doing she was doing most of the cooking and taking care of the kids and everything else.
Nice.
and so I think that, you know, she felt some tension between the women energy in the house and Aunt Lucy's, you know, like, well, is Elaina gonna pick up any of this? And Elena's like, hey, Aunt Lucy, I'm working hard. Can you do this and this? And you're like, well, you know, and so Aunt Lucy ended up, you know, moving to, you know, help her daughter and grandkid. And then after that, we had a whole different dynamic, and it was like this struggle. And then I think that you know, my daughter and Elaina had always struggled to form that bond. You know,
very common.
Yeah, sons and mothers bond one way, fathers and daughters bond one way, but like what I've seen is, you know, stepfathers and stepsons and stepmothers and stepdaughters. That's a struggle pretty much around the world.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah. We've seen that with our blended family.
But they do come around. I'm saying that you have to like keep on doing what's right in due time. You reap a harvest. Because you're the adult, you have to keep pouring out the love. But you don't that's how I feel, because I know a lot of people. I mean, as hard as it is to believe, I found fault with Pat's mother when she lived with us and father, and she's passed away. She was a saintly woman. She barely had any sins at all that she did, even outwardly, you know. And I could even find fault with her because there were 2 women in the kitchen, right? 2 women in the house, 2 women. We bought, I mean, like it's easy to do. It's like it's a common sin. It's called everyone isn't Naomi and Ruth. They're just not. And so I go, Pat, I thought that they were driving me crazy, and really they moved out to Florida, and I obviously was driving up crazy. I didn't know it. I was unaware. I go like, surely they're driving me crazy, but they weren't. We were driving each other crazy. It's hard to put 2 women in a house.
My wife is
his mother was saintly.
Declared my mother a saint,
She really was.
I have to tell her I love my mother But you didn't live with her.
Well, he knows the real deal.
Pat, if we had a fire, who would you say if you were your mother? He said, I would die trying to save you both. We
Ooh,
love
safe
Aaron, so-
answer.
Good answer.
See,
Yeah.
he's a wise man. But don't you think though, this is some of the problems that people enter in marriage, they think they're the only one. And that's why probably Retrouvaille is healthy to say, gee, a blended family, we watch it in motion. It's been very difficult.
Well, so is the mentoring couple, or do they have a blended family, or?
No, they got married young, like kind of like you guys did. Or, I don't know if you were as young, Pat, but they got married young and they had a big family. And then I was also going to say that I grew up. So my mother married G Power, my stepfather, when I was about 8. And he and I just ended up having a great relationship. So I couldn't understand why Elaina.
Sure, girls.
Sure.
It's more of a
Sure.
girl thing, right? That's why I love her. I mean, Ruth, I go, what? She went to the mother-in-law.
Well, that's, you know,
It's still a journey.
psychologists and whatnot. 2 women running a household
Never works.
tends to be a big struggle, you know.
Even
or so.
an empty nester family.
Only one queen in the castle.
Huh?
Only one queen in the castle.
Right, no, that's right. But also, even when they empty nester,
Yep.
Pat and I divide and conquer for that reason, because you can't even have, 2 people running the, one person has to decide we decide every day that we'll have for dinner, what's on the schedule today. We start the day with prayer, 8 o'clock, and we talk about the day. It does make things more peaceful if you're 2 leaders, otherwise.
And we pray, we have a kind of a standard prayers that we pray, but we're always, and part of that is actually spiritual warfare every morning.
Just to say,
So if you don't do that, consider doing that. Doesn't have to take long.
all we do is
but
say Michael,
just,
to
you
write
know,
to Michael
yeah.
prayer, and we
There's a
give our
prayer
marriage.
of Saint Michael prayer. It's in the Catholic Church, but it's really a spiritual weapon. The Pope way back when had this vision that this is a prayer that people should be praying.
It's a
To
good
Saint
prayer.
Michael the Archangel.
It's asking the angels to come on in your camp. We also do holy water. I know you all know holy water. We spray our Pat during this month because there's been a lot of things going on. I say you need to do holy water
Yeah, we
every
don't want
day.
to push the Catholic
It's
thing
not
too
only
much.
Catholic, it's holy water. Anybody can use holy water, I think, from the Catholic.
You know what sacramentals are? Sacramentals. Well, there's the sacraments that we believe, marriage, baptism.
Oh, baptism. Okay.
Those are sacraments.
Yes.
Sacramentals are like holy water,
Confirmation.
rosary, whatever. They're supposed to be, and some people say, oh, well, why do you use those? Well, we believe that because remember Jesus, how did he make the blind man see? Remember one of the scriptures?
Didn't he make
Put mud
Didn't he-
Mud.
over his
Why
eyes?
did he do that? Did he need to do that?
He didn't need to, no.
No, because
He
we
used something human.
we need things in the world can help us in our faith.
That's right. Just see
Ah.
that. And sometimes you just have to.
That having water that's been blessed is, but the thing is it always has to be the mindset. Well, this is really Jesus doing this.
Mhm.
It's really God doing it. It's just something he's given us to use. So that's what that's what we believe, that God gives us these things of the world that he blesses to use in building our faith, recognizing that it's all coming from him.
Mm.
Right. He works, I always say the biggest miracle he does though is in your heart.
Right.
I mean, he does, Lord, please heal my body. Well, that isn't what God's doing right now, but he heals your heart. And then you begin to see, your eyes are open like the mud, and you can see miracles happen. You can look at your husband and say, glad I married you.
Amen.
And then you look at your wife and say, wow, you look like the first day I met you. But we think that, we just remember when. It's my big thing. My one friend, Judy Sabaski, she's a wonderful woman of God. And she's a prostitute, she's a Baptist. And one day the Lord gave this vision to have a faithfulness shelf, in her. So I have like a little bookshelf, and she has whatever she has with glass on it and fancier. And you put on it ways God was faithful to you in your life. Like, oh, the time I was the stewardess, I was too young and too short, and I was still asked by Air Florida to be a flight attendant. Now, something that reminds you of something God did that was unbelievable. I think it'd be nice to start a marriage shelf where people put down, this is a cross we carried together. I believe the cross is 2 sides. So the husband on one and the wife on the other makes the cross go smoothly. Other than that, you're going like this, it's that whole
Mm.
teardrop. So
Do they talk about that in Retrouvaille in terms of remembering? Because some of us, our tendency is to focus more on the negatives
Oh,
rather
why you
than
fell in love in the first
remembering the positives.
yes, they do. Actually, Retrouvaille in French means rediscovery.
Yeah,
That's good. I
sure.
remember that. I remember
Yeah.
that.
So you are, I mean, part of the curriculum, you write your story,
Yes.
and there's the four phases of
Mhm.
marriage: honeymoon, disillusionment, misery,
and
and
awakening.
awakening.
Yeah.
That's good.
So you write your honeymoon phase first. And
Oh,
so
that's
you
nice.
reminisce, like, oh,
Right.
like why was I so attracted
Yeah.
to him? And
Remember the good times.
Well,
Yeah.
it's very important because
Yep.
life's gonna have trials no matter what, right? Honey?
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
A
The
lot-
4
a lot
pages. I was asking.
Yeah.
And I was also going to say, in kind of the biggest tool that they give us in dialogue, it's the one that we should be using the most, almost on a well, I'd say not
Yeah.
almost, but on a regular basis.
Okay.
The tool has us compliment each other on something
yeah, what
as
do we
part of that
appreciate?
every
Right.
time we do it.
That's very
Yeah.
important. We're working on that this year is thankfulness, right?
Right.
Every time we do something, we go, well, thank you so much. It sounds kind of corny when you're practicing a new skill, like complimenting or thankful, but it does especially for the girl. I'm sorry, Eliza, I know only girl. For the girl to say, you look so beautiful. I just think they know that they want to be, they know that they're making them present their best self forward, they're women, and to be told, even though they can look in the mirror and go like, oh, they're fine. It just helps. I don't know why. For the man, it's good to say, thank you so much for taking care of the family and paying the bills. And it is for the man, just so different. We want to show you something else we have done, because last time we shared a couple tips, remember, Jane and I shared tips like the date guide and everything. Well, Pat and I, one year, it was, to be honest, we were all alone, and it was, what's that called? We went through the staycation. COVID hit, and we're in Florida, and our whole family's here, all our friends, our ministries, and we're down there so that we can see if I get better. And so for my anniversary, I think it was, came, and we weren't going anywhere because we couldn't leave the house. And so Pat and I had this idea, I don't know whose idea, and Pat made these for us. We had done a 35th wedding renewal, which is always a good thing to renew your marriage we did 35th, and all the kids were walking down the aisle. We wrote our own vows. So we had these printed, and they hang in our room. I don't know if you can see them. This is just one of them.
It's backward because of the camera.
Okay.
Wow.
He much wrote to me.
Those are your vows?
No, not real vows, renewal.
We did a renewal because
we put them on
normally
these.
speaking in the church, they have set vows.
But we
Okay.
did we wrote our own vows for
But
this.
for the renewal, we could do our own, and we just,
So on Pat's side, he has, you have the vows you gave to me, dear Ellen. On my side of the bed, over our nightstands, we have our vows there to remind us that we make vows to, and then the Catholic Church, I just found out a lot. I mean, I thought, this is just funny. Elaine will appreciate this. They put a cross over the bed, and Pat and I was always disagreeing. He always goes, Father so-and-so taught me that marriage is a cross. What'd you say? It was a cross. I would always debate with this certain priest who has left. The priest that says that. I go, no, marriage is a blessing, but you carry a cross together every day, and to have a cross over your bed. I asked him today, do you want to have one over our bed?
Right.
Because we don't know that marriage would be like, you look at it and go, whoa, we're just a trial for each other.
Well,
That's not true. It's just not true at all.
to be one with Jesus, our goal is to die to ourselves,
And what's
to
the
become more like him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's part of the cross, is the idea of dying to yourself. And so in marriage, that's partly what you're talking about too, is in a way is letting go of parts of yourself for the marriage.
Yeah.
It has to be something big, honey, right? Not just personal preference, like I like chocolate, so eat a chocolate bar, because I'm not doing that. I'm just saying it's more like you carry the cross together, though. You carry the cross many times. Like we had, I'll go through divorce, we had a baby die. So each time you're asked by God, either you got to carry it alone, and then it sort of slants and hurts your shoulder, or you got to carry it together. There's two scriptures that I think put together. One is take my yoke upon you and learn from me. I'm a gentle but humble teacher. Only give you light burdens. And the other one is what is the other one? Do you remember? Two of them, but both of them mean the same thing, that you have to take it together. The oxen to go in step. I always think it's good when a couple has a trial before they get married, because then they see how they handle that trial before. And when our children are dating, I always say, Lord, show their bad side and help them to have something they face together, because you have to face problems in life. You really can't run away from problems. They're right there in front of you, facing you head on. You gotta go, okay, there's a mountain. Do I climb it or just walk around? Do I look at it?
Right.
Facing the problems.
So how long ago was your Retrouvaille?
Do they have
We
its
did our
ongoing?
weekend in February of 2019.
Yep.
May 19th.
Is it an ongoing thing though, yo?
Yeah,
They don't
since
really-
then, they still have their mentoring group, right?
We do. There's core. That's what we call it. I'm trying to remember.
Continuing our Retrouvaille experience.
Yes, that's the acronym. And so it's once a month, and any alum, and you can be, I mean, they have Retrouvaille weekends all over the world.
Right.
Plug there, www.helpourmarriage.org. That's
Right.
the website for Retrouvaille, and you can go there and you can see any of the upcoming weekends
Right.
that they have and register.
Right.
But yeah, so the core, they have it once a month, and any couple that has gone through Retrouvaille is invited to come. And there's a talk there. A couple does a talk. They share a little bit about their story. They may provide a tool, of some sort, or
Mhm.
inspiration, and then we fellowship. So
Mhm.
it's nice. It's all about building community.
And then other couples that are part of the Retrouvaille community, they plan date nights that just go out and have fun.
Sure.
And then on top of that, there's ways, I mean, and this is how we got connected with you guys, is that we felt like it blessed our marriage so much, we had to get involved to give back and pay it forward
Yeah.
and help other couples. And as you give back and pay it forward, there's opportunities to serve, which connect you with other couples even more.
Yeah.
So have you done have you presented at a weekend?
That's a good question.
Great question. We have not presented, and it's funny. We
Or shared?
yeah, we have shared
Yes.
at a core,
Are you sharing now?
but not our next step. I call us sophomores of Retrouvaille.
Okay.
Summer years this year
Okay.
for me.
Yeah.
And so the freshmen are the ones coming in for the weekend, and they don't
Right.
know what's what, and they're just going through
Right.
to kind of save their marriage. So we're the sophomores. We've been through some training. So our next step is to write our personal story,
Yes.
and then to present some of the post-session topics, and then we'll get better at presenting. And then I think by that time, and serving on the board for Retrouvaille Atlanta, we might be able to be juniors in the next couple of years.
Yes. And then
And when you're seeing you.
I don't know. I think you're holding back a little bit. I think
I did great on media. And you share with your
what I
arms.
see,
We're the opposite.
you have the ability to get out there and speak. Both of you
You
do.
do. You are great on media. And we want to
Thank
give a
you.
plug for, isn't there something coming up soon in Atlanta? Isn't there something coming soon?
Yes. So the
Please
first
share.
Retrouvaille Atlanta weekend is February 4th.
Okay, see y'all out there.
Thanks.
You can contact this couple or Retrouvaille at www.
Yep, www.helpourmarriage.org.
Now,
And there will be, go ahead.
no, go
Sorry.
on.
And there's a section there where you can look for upcoming weekends, and
Yeah.
it'll give you a list of anywhere in the world that they're hosting upcoming Retrouvaille weekends.
Right.
See? So if your marriage is anyway having some, mountains in the way,
Difficulties, yeah.
or maybe some deserts or a bump in the road, this would be an opportunity for you all to check it out. But before we end this show, it's gone longer because there's 4 of us. We're all talkers. That's great. But I want you all to give your last words. So be thinking a minute while I give my little plug. This is Ellen Mongan from Deacon and Deer. We also have Elaina on our interview on Wow Mom. You check it out on YouTube. We're glad you joined us today, and we'd love for you to join them anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. You meet new people, you learn some skills, and you shine for the Lord, because God wants us to wash our robes. Blessed are they who wash their robes to eat from the tree of life. When you're a bride, you never want your robe, your gown, to have a spot or wrinkle. You want to go forth with pure of heart and do what you can on this earth to clarify the fact that you are cleansing your soul to meet the King of Kings one day. We eat the banquet one day. We want to be clean and ready to be with Jesus. So, baby, do you want to go first on the last words?
Just that marriage is under attack. But there are places like Retrouvaille and counseling and that you can seek out. There are resources out there to help you in your marriage. Turn to Jesus and ask him to help you and guide you. And just remember, it is painful to the soul. So when people do separate and divorce, and God can redeem that, as we see with Elaina and Alonzo, in terms of repairing what's happened in the wounds that people have. And so keep seeking him. Don't give up.
That's right. Never give up. So y'all, who wants to go first?
That's true. I just to build on that, never give up. And I shared this in the last discussion, but I think it's important that there should be no shame if you have troubles in your marriage. I want to normalize that. Okay. And just as Deacon Pat said, there's a war against marriages. So there's so many, outside forces that are trying to split you up. So don't feel like you're alone, first of all, and then that it's shameful that you're struggling. And just know that there is Retrouvaille is a tool. We think it's a great tool. It's a tool and a resource for you. It's a lifeline for struggling marriages. And there you can find a community, and you'll understand that, hey, maybe we don't have it so bad, and this is repairable.
Amen.
This is repairable, right? And it's a journey. And please know that nothing's going to be a silver bullet. You have to work at it.
Amen.
No magic wand.
You do. So just get over that you're going to have a silver bullet, and just know that as long as you two are working at it, that's half the battle. You have to have the will to work at your marriage.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
So you're the anchor, I guess.
And so to follow on to Elaina, marriages are like, I consider it like our physical health. We're either improving or we're declining. It's very rarely just kind of at a steady state. So we have to work to improve. And then life, and like Deacon Pat said, the devil is throwing arrows, and marriage is the cornerstone for families and for building wealth and for joy and relationships. And we can't do it alone. We need each other. We need Christ, and we need community in order to do it for us, for our kids, for each other in the community. And it just has blessed us so much that we encourage, even if it's not someone's marriage who's listening, I guarantee you know someone whose marriage can benefit from Retrouvaille. So please,
Amen.
helpourmarriage.org. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Helpourmarriage.org. Share it with a friend if you care about their relationship the same way my best man cared about our relationship.
Amen. Amen.
I just want to commend y'all before I close the show to say that we admire y'all for going forth and speaking about Retrouvaille, because everyone needs help in their marriage. And there is also marriage encounters for the marriages that want to start there, because I think it's a starting point. And then to be able to be bolded. I like the thing about the men and the feelings, but I admire that. It's humility. It's humility is being able to say, I have a problem with anything. It could be like alcohol or overeating or whatever it is. Everyone has problems. Just little problems, big people, big problems. So we thank the Lord for y'all.
Or you can see it as we're all walking wounded.
That's right. Hurting people.
Helping the other walking wounded. Because we're all wounded in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. And as soldiers of God, we have to put on our armor every day, and we have to walk forth in knowing that. What's your new word for the year, honey?
Expect the Lord to come into your life each day. Expect God to do something.
Put on the show last time. So we're traveling.
Expectant faith.
We're traveling along. We're close show. Singing a song side by side. Thank you for joining us at Deacon and Dear, and we thank you all for being our guests. We love having y'all.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, y'all, is it off? Is it off?